Letter 247 by Charles Lamb. May 28, 1819. My dear M., I want to know how your brother is, if you have heard lately. I want to know about you. I wish you were nearer. How are my cousins, the Gladmans of Weethamstead and Farmer Bruton? Mrs. Bruton is a glorious woman. Hail, Macquarie End. This is a fragment of a blank verse poem which I once meditated, but got no further. The EIH has been thrown into a quandary by the strange phenomenon of poor Tommy By, whom I have known man and madman 27 years, he being elder here than myself by 9 years and more. He was always a pleasant, gossiping, half-headed, muzzy, dozing, dreaming, walkabout, inoffensive chap, a little too fond of the creature, who isn't at times. But Tommy had not brains to work off an overnight surfeit by 10 o'clock next morning, and unfortunately, in he wandered the other morning drunk with last night, and with a superfetation of drink taken in since he set out from bed. He came staggering under his double burthen, like trees in Java, bearing at once blossom, fruit, and falling fruit, as I have heard you or some other traveller tell, with his face literally as blue as the bluest firmament. Some wretched calico that he had mopped his poor oozy front with had rendered up its native dye, and the devil a bit would he consent to wash it, but swore it was characteristic, for he was going to the sale of indigo, and set up a laugh which I did not think the lungs of mortal man were competent to. It was like 1,000 people laughing, or the goblin page. He imagined afterwards that the whole office had been laughing at him, so strange did his own sounds strike upon his nonsensorium. But Tommy has laughed his last laugh, and awoke the next day to find himself reduced from an abused income of £600 per annum to 1/6 of the sum, after 36 years' tolerably good service. The quality of mercy was not strained in his behalf. The gentle dews dropped not on him from heaven. It just came across me that I was writing to Canton. How is Bowl? Mr. B is a P. Will you drop in tomorrow night? Fanny Kelly is coming if she does not cheat us. Mrs. Gold is well, but proves uncoined, as the lovers about Weethamstead would say. O hard-hearted Beryl, with teeth like a squirrel. I have not had such a quiet half-hour to sit down to a quiet letter for many years. I have not been interrupted above 4 times. I wrote a letter the other day in alternate lines, black ink and red, and you cannot think how it chilled the flow of ideas. Next Monday is Whit Monday. What a reflection! 12 years ago, and I should have kept that, and the following holiday in the fields a-maying. All of those pretty pastoral delights are over. This dead, everlasting dead desk, how it weighs the spirit of a gentleman down, this dead wood of the desk instead of your living trees. But then again I hate the Joskins, a name for Hertfordshire bumpkins. Each state of life has its inconvenience, but then again mine has more than one. Not that I repine or grudge or murmur at my destiny. I have meat and drink and decent apparel. I shall at least when I get a new hat. A red-haired man has just interrupted me. He has broke the current of my thoughts. I haven't a word to add. I don't know why I send this letter, but I have had a hankering to hear about you some days. Perhaps it will go off before your reply comes. If it don't, I assure you no letter was ever welcomer from you, from Paris or Macau. C. Lamb. At the beginning of this letter is an unprinted passage saying that Charles Lloyd and his wife are in London and that such proximity is not too comfortable. Would you like to see him? Or isn't it better to lean over a stile in a sort of careless, easy, half-astronomical position, eyeing the blue expanse? Manning, who had now settled in England, but in retirement, was living in Hertfordshire at Totteridge. The Gladmans and Brutons are mentioned in the Elia essay, Macquarie End in Hertfordshire. The oldest thing I remember is Macquarie End, or Mackerel End, as it is spelt, perhaps more properly in some old maps of Hertfordshire, a farmhouse, delightfully situated within a gentle walk from Weethamstead. I can just remember having been there on a visit to a great-aunt when I was a child under the care of Bridget, who, as I have said, is older than myself by some 10 years. I wish that I could throw into a heap the remainder of our joint existences, that we might share them in equal division. But that is impossible. The house was at that time in the occupation of a substantial yeoman who had married my grandmother's sister. His name was Gladman. My grandmother was a Bruton, married to a Field. The Gladmans and the Brutons are still flourishing in that part of the country, but the Fields are almost extinct. The goblin page, is in Scott's lay of the Last Minstrel. Mrs. Gold is well, nay Fanny Burrell. This dead wood of the desk. Lamb used this figure more than once, in his letters and elsewhere, in the Elia essay, The Superannuated Man. He says, I had grown to my desk, as it were, and the wood had entered into my soul.